The book, Good to Great, Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't. Part 1. The question that hits home. Have you ever noticed something strange? That most people don't fail because they're not smart enough, but because they settle for good enough. A company doesn't fall short of greatness because it's foolish or lacks opportunity. It falls short because it becomes satisfied too early. In the business world, there are thousands of companies doing just fine. They make sales. Employees show up. Customers call. But only a tiny few ever become truly great. So what makes the difference? Is there a formula that turns a pretty good company, or even your own life, into something truly exceptional? Jim Collins, a professor who never cared much for dry theory, spent 5 years chasing a deceptively simple question. Why do some companies become great while most never do? He didn't guess. He dug in. With his team, he studied 6,000 articles, analyzed over 1,400 companies, and narrowed it all down to just 11. 11 companies that didn't just do well. They beat the general market by 7 times, over 15 years. In this video, we're not talking corporate jargon. We're not here to drown you in business school buzzwords. Instead, we're sitting down like friends to talk about ideas that seem simple, but may hold the key to turning an average group into a truly great one. And maybe they'll give you the map you've been looking for in your own life. If you're leading a team, a project, or your own future, the lessons from Good to Great might just help you rethink, realign, and go further than you thought possible. Let's start with the first building block. Level 5 leadership, those quiet ones who end up changing everything. Or Part 2, Level 5. Leaders. Humility and iron will picture yourself in a meeting with a CEO. He's not flashy. He doesn't give a big speech. He doesn't walk in like a rock star. He just sits quietly. He listens more than he speaks. And when he finally talks, his voice is soft. But somehow, everyone stops and listens. That was Darwin Smith, CEO of Kimberly-Clark, a paper company. Not exactly glamorous, yet under his leadership, it became one of the greatest companies in America. Darwin wasn't chosen because he dazzled on paper. He was a company lawyer, an insider, no CEO aura. When he got promoted, he even wondered if the board had made a mistake. But over the next 20 years, he led Kimberly-Clark to outperform Procter & Gamble, the giant of the industry. How? He sold the company's core business, printing paper, a line they had depended on for decades. He reinvested in consumer products like Huggies and Kleenex. He stayed out of the spotlight. Didn't give interviews, took no credit. When he passed away, almost no one outside the company knew his name. But inside, people said he was the most extraordinary leader they had ever known. Jim Collins called this kind of leader a level 5 leader, the highest level in a 5-tier hierarchy. These leaders are humble to the point of being invisible, but they have an iron will to do what's right. They don't care about personal fame. But they take full responsibility when things go wrong, and they focus on building something that lasts, not chasing the next headline. In a world that celebrates charisma, bold opinions, and personal branding, Level 5, leaders don't seek attention. They just want the work to be excellent. They don't need you to know their name. They just want the organization they serve. To become great, you might not be a CEO, but you are still leading. A family, a team, a project, maybe even just yourself. So ask yourself, are you chasing recognition? Or are you truly committed to making what you lead better every day? Are you seeking power? Or are you building trust? And when these level 5 leaders start their work, they don't start with strategy. They start by getting the right people on the bus. That's the next big insight from Good to Great. And it's something most companies completely miss. And Part 3. First who, then what? Get the right people, then the plan. If you've ever taken a long-distance bus trip, you already know this. The journey can't go well if the wrong people are on board. The driver gets stressed by noisy passengers. People argue over seats. And even with the perfect map, the ride becomes chaos. Jim Collins calls this idea first who, then what. Don't start with vision. Don't start with a detailed plan. Start by getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off. Because when you have the right people, they'll figure out the right direction. But with the wrong people, even the best strategy will fall apart. Let's look at 2 companies. Wells Fargo, one of the greats, didn't begin their transformation with strategy. They started with people. They let go of anyone who didn't fit the culture, even top performers who refused to change. Meanwhile, Bank of America tried shortcuts. They restructured. And then changed their business model, boosted marketing, but they kept a leadership team that wasn't aligned. The result? Wells Fargo thrived. Bank of America stumbled from one crisis to another. Now here's the strange part. In many organizations, people try to please the wrong ones and slowly push away the right ones. And personally, we do the same. We let fear take the wheel, while curiosity and discipline get locked in the back seat. We spend energy on relationships that drag us down instead of ones that lift us up. So if you're leading a team, stop and think. Who's really helping you move forward? Who's holding you back? And most importantly, have you put the right people in the right seats? Once the right people are in place, that's when the real journey can begin. But no journey goes far without one thing: truth. Not pretty slides, not wishful thinking, the raw, sometimes painful truth. And that's the third discovery from good to great, a truth that the best companies had the courage to face. Part 4. Face the brutal facts, but never lose faith. What's the hardest thing you're dealing with right now? A volatile market? A team that's stuck? A project that just won't move forward? There is a way through it all, but it doesn't start with hope. It starts with truth. James Stockdale was a U.S. fighter pilot. During the Vietnam War, he was shot down and held captive in the infamous Hanoi Hilton for 8 years. He was tortured again and again, but he survived. And not only that, he led hundreds of fellow prisoners through the same nightmare. When Jim Collins interviewed him, he asked, "Who didn't make it out?" Stockdale replied, "The optimists. They said, we'll be out by Christmas, by Easter, by Thanksgiving." And then they died of a broken heart. Stockdale wasn't delusional. He faced the brutal facts of his reality every single day, but he never once doubted that he would survive and prevail in the end. That's what Collins calls the Stockdale paradox. You must hold on to unwavering faith that you will succeed in the end, no matter how tough things get. And at the same time, have the discipline to confront the harshest facts of your current situation. Great companies don't run from the truth. When Walgreens saw they were underperforming, they shut down stores, even if it hurt in the short term. Kimberly-Clark admitted their core industry was dying, and they rebuilt their business from the ground up. Meanwhile, good enough companies avoided reality. They painted pretty pictures, told leaders what they wanted to hear, and slowly collapsed under their own delusion. It's easy to say, everything will be fine. But sometimes the bravest thing you can say is, we're going the wrong way. Our product isn't good enough. I've waited too long to take action. That's not pessimism. That's courage. The kind of courage that looks truth in the eye and doesn't flinch. So whether you're leading a business, a team, or just your own life, learn to face reality without losing hope. It's the first step toward real transformation. Because you can't build a great future if you're standing on a foundation of lies. And once you face the truth, the next step isn't to do more. It's to do the right thing, to focus, one clear idea, simple but powerful enough to guide every choice. Jim Collins called it the hedgehog concept, and it's one of the most eye-opening insights in the entire book. Part 5, the hedgehog concept, simplify the complex. In a world full of noise and distractions, there are two animals, the fox and the hedgehog. The fox is clever, fast. It comes up with dozens of ways to attack. But the hedgehog only knows one thing. It curls into a ball of spikes. And every single time, the fox loses. Because the hedgehog doesn't try to master everything. It just masters one thing that works. Jim Collins uses this image to explain something powerful. Great companies don't try to do everything. They don't chase trends. They don't constantly reinvent. They pick one core idea and execute it better than anyone else. This is the hedgehog concept, and it's built around 3 brutally honest questions. First, what can you be the best in the world at? Not what you're good at now, but what you could become the best at. Second, what are you deeply passionate about? What lights you up so much? You'd do it even if no one asked you to. And third, what drives your economic engine? What's the one metric that turns your work into steady, reliable income? Where those 3 answers overlap. That's your hedgehog. Take Walgreens, for example. They didn't try to open the most stores. They focused on one thing, profit per customer visit, so they picked only the best locations. They cross-sold products. They improved the customer experience again and again, and over 15 years, their stock price grew 15 times. Meanwhile, Eckerd, their competitor, tried to grow fast. They opened stores everywhere, lost focus, and eventually they were bought out and shut down. Now, let's bring it back to you. Most people think success comes from doing more, launching new products, changing strategy every year, copying what's trending. But without clarity, it's all noise. So ask yourself, who are you? What are you truly great at? And how can you turn that into a living? The hedgehog concept doesn't mean being lazy. It means cutting out the noise and doing what truly matters. In a world running in every direction, the one who walks slowly in the right direction wins. If your work feels scattered or your team is overwhelmed, try this. Draw your 3 circles. What can you be the best at? What do you love doing so much you lose track of time? And how can you turn that into sustainable income? Where those circles meet, that's your hedgehog. Once you've found it, you don't need more hype. You need discipline, the kind that comes from within. And that's exactly what great companies all share. A culture of discipline. Part 6. A culture of discipline. Internal, not imposed. There are 2 kinds of people at the gym. One needs a coach shouting next to them, counting every rep. The other shows up on time, follows the plan, and knows exactly when to push harder. What separates them isn't strength. It's self-discipline. Jim Collins found that good to great companies didn't run like military units. They worked more like teams of deeply self-disciplined individuals. People who didn't need someone watching over them because they held themselves accountable. Discipline isn't about being controlled. It's about doing what's right, even when no one's watching. Let me tell you a story. Dave Scott, a 6-time Ironman world champion, had a strange habit. He rinsed his cottage cheese with water before eating it. Why? To remove a few grams of fat. No one told him to. No one even noticed. But that small, daily act of discipline separated him from everyone else. That's what discipline looks like in great companies. Everyone knows the hedgehog. They make good decisions without being told. They don't wait for permission. They act because they believe in what they're building. And here's something important. Discipline doesn't mean red tape. It doesn't mean endless rules or micromanagement. It means creating an environment where disciplined people have the freedom to act within clear boundaries. Think of it like train tracks. They give you direction, but once you're on them, you can move at full speed. So if you're leading a team, don't start by writing more rules. Start by hiring and keeping people who already have self-discipline, people who don't need a manager watching because they're already doing the work. And if you're trying to grow yourself, don't wait for a coach. Ask yourself this: am I rinsing my cottage cheese every day? So now you've got a level 5 leader, the right people, brutal honesty, a clear hedgehog concept, and a culture of discipline. What's next? Not chasing shiny new tech, only using technology. When it supports your hedgehog, that's the next big insight. Technology is an accelerator, not a driver. And part 7, technology is just an accelerator, not the main engine. In today's digital age, we're told that new technology equals instant breakthrough. But the truth? It's not that simple. Plenty of companies had the latest tech and still failed. Meanwhile, the truly great companies and good to great, they didn't start with technology at all. Jim Collins discovered something powerful. Great companies don't treat technology like magic. They use it only when and only if it supports their hedgehog concept. Take Walgreens during the internet boom of the 1990s. While others rushed into digital transformation, Walgreens paused. They didn't launch an online store just to follow the trend. Instead, they asked one simple question: will the internet help us increase profit per customer visit? When the answer was yes, they invested. And the results? Outstanding. Collins put it clearly. None of the good to great companies became great because of technology, but they all used it wisely, at the right time, for the right reason. Never obsessed, never distracted. So the real question isn't, do you have the latest tech? It's this: do you actually need it to amplify what you already do best? A writer doesn't need AI tools if they haven't sharpened their thinking. A struggling sales team won't magically improve just because they have a fancy CRM. An undisciplined investor won't get rich just because they're using a new trading bot. Technology can't replace a clear strategy. It can't replace the right people. And it can't replace a culture of discipline. What it can do is make the right things even stronger. But if you're doing the wrong thing, technology just makes you fail faster. The most powerful thing that good to great companies had wasn't a sudden breakthrough, wasn't a viral moment. It was consistency. Small actions, repeated relentlessly, like pushing a giant flywheel. Part 8, the flywheel effect, momentum through consistency. Picture a massive steel flywheel, 6 feet tall, weighing tons. Your task? Make it spin. You push. Nothing. You push again. Still nothing. A third time, just a small tremble. But you don't stop. You keep pushing. Steady, consistent. And then, around the 50th or 60th push, it starts to move. And then, nothing can stop it. Jim Collins called this the flywheel effect. Great companies didn't become great through one big event. No magic turnaround. No viral campaign. Instead, they did the small things right, over and over again. They hired the right people. They stayed disciplined. They stayed focused on their hedgehog concept. And they kept moving, one smart step at a time. Momentum wasn't forced. It was built. Take Circuit City. They didn't become famous overnight. They restructured their team, introduced a new sales model, improved logistics, expanded into higher value markets, quietly, over years. And then, suddenly, the market said, "Wow, where did they come from?" But it wasn't sudden. It was the flywheel. Now, let's look at the opposite, the doom loop. Here's what it looks like. Progress is slow, so they change the strategy. Still no results? Fire the CEO? Try something new? Expect fast success. Get disappointed? Start over? And the cycle repeats. They're always trying something new, but never gaining momentum. Here's the truth. Success in business, investing, learning, or life doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from hundreds of small, right choices, repeated. You don't get fit after one workout. You don't get rich from one smart trade. You don't become great after one expensive course. But if you keep pushing your flywheel, one day it spins on its own. You don't need to rush. You don't need a massive change. You just need the right direction and the patience to stay on course. Success isn't sudden. It's the reward for consistency. So now we've covered it all, the complete roadmap from good to great. Level 5 leadership, the right people, facing the truth. A sharp, focused hedgehog concept, a culture of discipline, smart use of technology, and relentless consistency. The only question left is, what will you do with it? Yate, Part 9. Final thoughts, from companies to your own life. Good is the enemy of great. When things are fine, we lose the reason to change. When results are okay, we tell ourselves, why bother pushing further? And just like that, we get stuck in a comfortable loop where nothing's terribly wrong. But nothing extraordinary ever happens either. You may not run $1 million company, but you are running something far more important, your life. So ask yourself, are you living a life that's just good enough? Or are you building something truly great on your own terms? You don't need the title of Level 5 leader to begin. You just need to start with one choice. Today, choose discipline over speed, truth over comfort, excellence over noise. Because greatness is not a place you arrive at. It's a habit, a daily process of doing the right thing again and again. Good to great doesn't give you a formula, it gives you a compass. So even if you walk slowly, you'll know you're heading in the right direction. If what you've just heard made you stop and reflect, if something inside you feels ready to hit reset, then Good to Great deserves a spot on your desk or your nightstand. It's a book you'll want to revisit, especially when you feel lost, stuck, or ready to grow. I've placed the link to the official Good to Great book in the description below. It's the original edition from Amazon, and it could be the first step in your own journey to building something meaningful. When you use that link, you're also supporting this channel, helping me keep creating thoughtful, no-fluff content that focuses on real value, not chasing views. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. It's a simple way to spread meaningful ideas. And if you're someone who loves reading, learning, and applying powerful insights to your life and finances, subscribe to the channel. Every week, we explore books that might not be flashy, but are deep enough to change the way you live and work. And if you've already read Good to Great, leave a comment below. What's one idea from the book that changed the way you see the world? I'd really love to hear your story.